you heard the good news? We've been cleared to have worship inside. So this video is to show you how the sanctuary is now set up and how to worship safely. I will say now, and I'll tell you this again at the end, that this is just one of the ways that you can now worship. We need each person to pick the option that feels safest and most comfortable for them. So we will be continuing to have worship available both online and outside so that you can pick what seems best for you. So the first thing is, when you enter the property, even before you come to the sanctuary, you need to mask up. We can't have, well, I've taken off in order to talk to you, but we have to have everyone who is on the property wearing a mask. It needs to be a mask and not a face shield, and that is the rule of the diocese, so we ask you to comply to that. Another thing that we ask is that at all times you stay 6 feet away from everyone. We have in the sanctuary these lovely pieces of foam insulation which happen to be 6 feet. And so as long as you are a piece of foam insulation away from someone, you know that you're 6 feet. And I'll be showing you how these will be being used in the sanctuary in just a minute. So when you enter, we will have bulletins available over here on the table as normal. And we also have hand sanitizer for people who would like to use some. You'll notice on the floor that there are yellow stickers. These will help you stay 6 feet away from each other. We ask that if there are multiple people here in this space, that everybody stay a sticker away from one another. When you're walking, you will notice that there are blue lines on the floor, and this will help you walk while maintaining that 6-foot distance. Another thing you may notice that's different is that we will not be using the main doors into the sanctuary. In order to stay 6 feet away from everybody, we will need to be using only the side doors. We have a ribbon here to remind you not to go in this door, but it's something that can open easily if there's an emergency and we all need to come out. Once you enter, you can choose which side you're going to go on. I'm going to go this way today. I will walk, staying 6 feet away from my friends, and I'll come on into the sanctuary this way. Another thing you'll notice is that the doors are all propped open. The goal is to have everything be a no-touch surface, and so we have the doors both into the sanctuary and into the building, as well as to the bathrooms propped open. If you need to use the restroom, you can come on in. The doors are open and the lights will go on automatically. We're going to continue to walk along this blue line to make sure we're safely away from our friends. As you'll notice, the line is far enough from the wall to safely push a wheelchair or use a walker if needed. As I enter the sanctuary, I'm going to make sure that I continue to walk along the blue line. This will ensure that I am 6 feet apart from anybody who might already have entered the sanctuary. The line is placed so that if you are pushing a wheelchair or a walker, that there should be enough clearance between the wall and the line for you to do that. Once I decide what pew I'm in, I'm going to notice there's something a little odd. There are very clear pieces of foam that are going to block off which pews I don't have the option to sit in. So for example, right here, this pew we won't be using because by sitting there, we won't be able to stay 6 feet apart. You may also notice that there's some foam along the back of the pews. And this also says don't sit here. And that again keeps us 6 feet from our friends that might be walking down the aisle. The pews spaced this way will fit one family group or 2 couples fairly comfortably. If you are with a large group that's in your same immunological unit, as long as you can fit in this space, you can all sit together. We do ask that people only stay with people that they live with, so that we can keep our immunological groups together. In the pew, you'll see that there is another piece of foam insulation. Don't worry, these will be cleaned each week, so go ahead and touch it if you need to. If I'm sitting on the end and I'm all alone, I'm going to move all the way to the end. Then I'm going to put my piece of pipe insulation next to me so that somebody knows this space from the end of my pipe insulation till here is available for sitting safely. Once you've sat, we're going to ask if at all possible you remain seating until the end of worship. This will ensure that everybody continues to stay 6 feet apart. In the unlikely event that you need to get up in the middle of worship, please notify the people at the end of your row so that they can get up and move to a safe distance before you come by. We never want to have somebody walking by another person in the pew. That makes it so we're no longer safe. Indoor Sunday worship will be in 2 parts. The first part will be morning prayer, and we'll expect that everyone stay for that. The second part is an optional communion piece, and that I will explain in a moment. However, if we ask that if you are going to leave after the morning prayer, if you're on the inside, again, you ask the people who are further down the pew from you who may be remaining to get up and step safely out so that you can exit. There will be some music here to make that a smooth transition. Once we've all sat for the second half, that includes communion, the flow of the room is going to become one directional. Up until this point, you can go up and down the aisles either way. Once it's time for communion, we ask that you continue to walk only in a clockwards fashion. So if I'm on this side, that's going to seem very logical. I'm going to walk this way, and then I'll wait on one of the markers on the floor until it's my turn. Once I come to the front, I will again see arrows to help me understand which way to go. Each arrow is 6 feet apart, so make sure you're not closer than an arrow from one another. It is deemed that one person can be without a mask in the front of the church as long as they're 20 feet apart. So the clergy person will be standing up here and will be able to be without a mask. Here in the middle, there's a cross on the floor. That's where I'll stand to receive communion. You'll notice that I'm 20 feet away from the podium, which is where one person can be unmasked during the service. As I come to receive communion, I'm going to walk up to this cross on the ground. At this time, the worship leader will have a mask back on so that they can approach closer. I'm going to put my hands out, and they're going to put a wafer into my hand, making sure not to touch my hands, just like we've been doing outside. It's worked great so far, and I believe it'll continue to work as we move indoors. Once you've received the host, I'll have a mask on when I get the host. Once you receive the host, you are welcome to take your mask off in order to put it in your mouth. I'd advise putting your back to the other people as you do that, so that you can quickly, safely put it in and then continue on your way. You may also notice, as I'm standing here, that there's a blockage here. This is just a visual reminder that we're not going to use the center aisle. In the case of an emergency, you will also notice that it easily will come through so that I can get through with no problem. Once I receive communion, if I'm sitting over there, I'm not going to go back in that direction. I'm going to continue in the clockwise manner and walk this way, again, following the blue line that's in arrows, on out through the door. If I start worship on this side of the sanctuary and I'm sitting here and I'd like to come to communion, I need to first exit, again in a clockwise manner, walk out, staying on the blue line, come through this way, and on up this way. I know this is a little extra walking, but it's the best way to keep everybody safe. I will continue to walk up to the front, receive communion, and then back around through. Again, always staying in that clockwise configuration. I just want to remind you that the maximum number of people we can have is 50. So while this does sound a little complicated, and it would be if we had 200 people in here, we believe this will be fairly smooth with 50 or less. During each service, we'll have 2 people who are designated as safety hosts. They'll be there to help make sure we're all following the needed guidelines to keep everyone safe. That'll include making sure everyone stays 6 feet apart, and most importantly, that everybody's wearing their mask. For a mask to keep everyone safe, it needs to fully cover your nose and your mouth. I don't know about you, but I've often ended up at the store and seen people with their masks down here or even down here. While on the campus at St. Peter's, we need to have a mask that fully covers our nose and our mouth at all times. As I said at the beginning, a face shield will not serve this purpose. It has to be an actual mask. The great news is we have a lot of wonderful people in the congregation who have been busy making masks through this whole pandemic and have donated them to all sorts of wonderful causes, including us. So we'll have a variety of masks available if you arrive and didn't have one with you. We ask that you be respectful of the role of these safety hosts. If they ask you to do something or to not do something, it's important that you listen to them. This is going to help keep us all safe so that we can continue to worship in a safe way. We've done a lot of work to try to set things up to be as safe as possible, but there may be something that's a great idea that we didn't think of. If you have an idea of another way to help keep us all safe, feel free to reach out to me via email. One thing you'll notice is we won't be singing together. That's another way that we're working to keep us safe. However, we will be allowed to have one person who is 20 feet apart from everyone else, which means they'll be either there or in the corner over here, and they'll be allowed to sing with a mask on. This will let us incorporate music and still keep us safe. We'll also be having tone chimes at some services to help bring music, as well as have some music played on our wonderful screens. Again, I want to ensure you that if you don't feel safe coming into the sanctuary yet, that's completely fine. We'll continue to have worship outside on Sunday mornings, as well as continue our online worship services. Our goal is to keep our whole family at St. Peter's connected with one another as best we can in this very difficult time. I look forward to seeing